Welcome back to 128 KB. We're in the Room of Games. That's right, not the Game of Rooms.
It is the Game of Rooms.
We're in the Room of Games because we have just finished playing Flashback.
Yeah.
From the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis days in a PlayStation 4 reboot in all its glory.
Yeah.
Straight from 1993. That's right, Flashback.
Yes.
We've just finished playing it on our Twitch channel live, so if you're not following us there, please do. We're all over it, and it's fun. But yes, it is an action-adventure 2D platformer of epic storyline proportions. It was a game from my childhood that I played a lot and still remember very deeply, but it was your first time playing it, so it's actually quite nice to see what your first impressions of Flashback was.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've been telling me, that we should play it for ages.
Yeah.
We've kind of been putting it off a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was the thing that I know the name.
Yes.
But I've just been like, what is it? I can't remember. And I, obviously didn't go and look it up. So when you were like, yeah, come on, let's do it. I was like, right, sweet, let's play this. And then the first sort of like level that came on, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've seen screenshots of this, but I've never actually seen gameplay or actually sat down and spent time with it or played it.
Yes.
So it was nice for me to go into something completely blind almost, other than sort of recognizing the name or whatever, because most retro stuff I'm aware of.
Yeah.
But this was quite refreshing to have something totally different, not knowing what to expect in terms of the story and the controls and the gameplay. And it is something totally different and probably something I would have sort of let slip by.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't think this is something I would have probably just picked up on a whim, unless I looked into it.
Yeah,
you
totally.
know, or if you badgered me to go get it. But it was good. It was very good.
Yeah, so it was obviously originally released in 1993 on the Sega Mega Drive. Like I say, it's a game I played a huge amount as a child. We weren't playing it in the gameplay footage you're seeing now. It wasn't on the Mega Drive. It was on the PlayStation 4 remastered version. Now, that's not to be confused with the PlayStation 4 remake, which they did a few years before, and that was trash.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a graphically remade version, and it was pixel for pixel accurate to a certain point.
Okay.
A bit like we see with the Alex the Kid Miracle World.
Yeah.
Alex Kid, sorry. But yeah, it was routinely trash. This is just a remastered version, so the graphics are slightly more polished, the sounds are slightly better, the controls have been slightly adapted for like PlayStation controllers rather than Mega Drive buttons.
Yes.
But yeah, my first impressions in coming back to it after it was 25 odd years ago that it was released, and all these years later was it's not lost any of its frustrating charm.
Definitely, especially if you're like me that gravitates towards a D-pad.
Yes.
When realistically you should be playing this one with the analog stick.
So let's jump into the controls because that's a really interesting point. It has been adapted to use the analog sticks. And you gravitate towards a D-pad straight because it's a 2D kind of side-scroller, sort of. And I was digging you for it during the stream, but actually when I took over, I went to the D-pad and played through on the D-pad.
Yes, yeah.
So that's probably a bit of like an Achilles heel of it. It sits awkwardly somewhere between D-pad and analog control.
Yeah, I definitely think the PlayStation 4 adapted version, they've taken... Well, everyone uses analog sticks because they're used to modern games.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel like the roll and certain jumping aspects probably work better with the analog stick, whereas I found them really difficult with the D-pad.
Yeah, you can't physically roll from down to side easily.
Because you've got to kind of like hold directions and then let go or whatever at certain times to initiate like the animation.
It is a very complicated game mechanically to control the character Conrad.
Yeah.
And it was I remember it being very complicated on the Mega Drive, and imagine it with that awkward rolling D-pad that had and the 3 buttons.
Yeah, I'd say that probably worked a bit better than the PlayStation D-pad because that rolling circle pad would allow for those rolls. Yes. Whereas like the PS4 D-pad is just literally 4 buttons. It's not even really a D-pad.
Yeah.
Like, because it's not just one like cross. It's those sort of like mini sections, so it was a little bit more difficult.
It is savagely hard to drop into. I will say that. And because they're throwing so many controls at you, combinations of different styles of jumps, different ways of grabbing ledges, activating objects in the scenery.
Yeah.
There's a lot there, but it does a fairly good job of easing you in with quite an easy level to start with.
Oh yeah,
before it starts picking up its pace. It's got that difficulty curve quite well sorted.
Yeah, definitely.
Where games of a previous generation haven't necessarily.
Yeah, it doesn't throw you totally in the deep end.
Yeah.
It sort of like eases you in with certain things, and especially like with enemies and stuff, instead of them just being everywhere, like say Valfaris.
Yeah.
You know, like I know that's a modern game, but instead of you just being bombarded, it's like, oh, there's one.
Yeah.
How are you going to get around him?
Yeah.
And you've kind of got to figure out, okay, how can I do this without dying? And then later on it ramps up.
Yeah, and for me, with the engagement with enemies, it was one of the first games that gave you multiple options on how to engage with characters and with enemies. You could just go John Rambo and go
like I was,
like you were, or you could try and distract them by throwing a stone or engaging an object and sneaking around them and killing them with stealth. And at that time, that was really exciting because it added like a level of kind of depth to the game.
Yeah,
that you
definitely.
wouldn't necessarily normally have.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely felt that. Like, and at the beginning, the very first sort of like jungle level, it was a bit drop you in.
Yeah.
There you go. Like, not really telling you what to do. But I kind of like that because it pulled you in once you'd finally figured out the first couple of screens or whatever, and you kind of got used to those controls, because it is the controls that once you've got used to, then it makes just the whole thing a lot easier. Whereas initially, that's what I was struggling with, was those controls. But then after like, I don't know, maybe like 15 minutes, I was like, okay, I think I've got this down. There was a couple things I had to sort of learn later, but it definitely made it more enjoyable. And then you start seeing like, I don't know, things cropping up that are reoccurring or showing what might come later on in the story or whatever. I absolutely love like picking up the objects.
Yeah.
With those, there's like small cutscenes, isn't there? Which is only a couple of seconds. Yeah. And you get some like really cool sounds happening, like and you get the animation of his foot being there every time and like the object on the floor. Yeah, it's great.
On that, those moments of cinematics, again for a game of 1993, that was, I remember as a child, it absolutely blew my mind. There was these 3D rendered and had a very distinct art style, but these rendered graphics that I remember thinking, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Look how realistic it is. Obviously, it's not by today's standards anywhere near, but they add a real level of enjoyment to that game. That you don't necessarily see a lot of on the Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, especially that opening scene where there's like, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds of like a quick run through of, you see the character comrade like running away. Yeah. And that's like, this is cool. Yeah. Like, even to today's standards, like this is a cool intro.
And that ties in really nicely with the idea of that first level. You said you get thrown into it, you're not really sure what the controls are, what you're supposed to be doing, but you get a sense of direction. I need to go somewhere. That's actually, I think, quite clever because the storyline is you actually have no idea as the character.
Yes.
You've got no memory.
I was going to say that, and it ties in really well because later on you see like, oh, hang on, you don't know what's going on, who you are, who anyone is, and why you're doing it. And then later on you find out. Yeah. And that's really cool because just as confused as you are is kind of their intention. Yes. You know, so, and it does alleviate that later, which is great.
I'll come back to the storyline in a second. I will talk about the one other thing with the actual physical gameplay. The PlayStation version has been made a lot easier because of the ability to rewind.
Yes.
So if you mess up on a puzzle and die, which you're going to do frequently, it's very tough.
Or like I did.
Yeah, like Andy did over and over again. You can rewind your action and start from where you were. When you played it originally, or if you put it on hard mode or expert mode, whatever it's called, you don't have that ability. And if you die, you go back to your last save point. For example, on the first level, there is only one save point in the middle of the level.
Yeah, which is quite far through.
Yeah, you do a lot to get there.
You've got to know the levels to play on those modes.
Yes.
You know, like the hard mode or whatever, and that kind of, even the normal and hard mode. Yeah. I think normal mode gives you like 2 or 3 rewinds or something, or like a limited number, whereas easy just gives you unlimited. Yeah. But those higher difficulty levels are definitely for people that have played before, know where the things are that you've got to dodge, because like my run through, you were like, I'm not going to tell you anything, just go. And then like I got vaporized.
I've got to tell him something.
I like fell off like a cliff and like splattered on the floor, like, and if I didn't have that rewind, Like, wow, we would have been sat there for ages just on the first level.
And that's probably why I knew the first level so well.
Yeah.
I would have played through it literally hundreds of times.
Yeah, just to get through.
There was no rewind option on the Mega
which
Drive.
surprises me because, I mean, the name Flashback to me kind of
Suggests you could do it.
insinuates, that.
Yeah.
So when you said to me, oh, yeah, by the way, this wasn't on the original, I was like, what? Like, how the hell did you do that? But, back at that era, it was commonplace to get absolutely owned by games.
And that was definitely a game that would own you quickly.
Just like Sonic,
Just over and over again. Back to the start of the level.
Yes.
Metroid.
Yeah.
Back to the start of the level.
Yeah.
The storyline, again, I'm going to wax lyrical about this because it was my first experience as a child of a game that's got a rich storyline without labouring long cutscenes too much.
Yeah, totally. And that's what gripped me in as a new player. I mean, you've got the nostalgia behind you of like, oh yeah, I played this, loved it.
Yeah.
I'm totally fresh to this. I've got no like sort of anything towards it. So it's first experience. I was really gripped by the storyline and the way they incorporated the storyline in the environments.
Yes.
And that really drew me in rather than just being like sort of, I don't know, like stale, let's say, with the same sort of thing. Oh, look, every level's the same. It wasn't. You had all these different environments, and it is that sort of sci-fi, like I kept referring to it like Running Man, the 80s movies. And I loved that. And I loved that feel and how drastic the change of environment was when you're in the jungle to all of a sudden you're in like a city and an underground subway and stuff. It's like, wow, this is cool. Like, I want to see what happens.
It's like the first Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
When you get into the cities.
I would say this is like a cyberpunk-esque game.
2D Cyberpunk.
Yeah, because you've got people with jetpacks on.
Yeah.
Like you've got what I call the Neanderthals.
The mutants.
Meant to be mutants, but they're not. They're Neanderthals with guns. But, it is pretty much based on cyberpunk sort of,
It followed on nicely from us playing Half-Life 2, and it's a thin connection, a tedious one, I will say, but the sense of this game is you're thrown into a world and you're unsure of what's going on, and you've just got a direction of forward. Not physically, but like storyline wise, you just got to keep going. You never go back. You just keep progressing and progressing.
Keep going.
And you have a sense of almost like you're being chased through the environments, pushed through them by the storyline. It does that so well.
Yeah.
Constant sense of progression. I would say letting it down on the pacing front is a lack of music.
Oh, 100%. That was the one criticism I had. Like right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
It was like just a little bit weirdly quiet.
Yeah.
And there was the odd bit of like sound effects that was trying to be environmental.
Yes.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is music in the game.
And it's kick-ass music.
Yeah, and sometimes it might happen whether there's a certain enemy on the screen or when you get the map later on in the game, like every time you open the map, the music plays and it's awesome. Like it's really cool. And I was like, I want to be hearing this all the time.
All the time.
Even if it's just a loop and it's on quiet in the background, I feel like that really let the game down. And as the like PS4 remaster, I feel like they could have just put that in.
Just give us an option, have it in all the time.
Yeah. We even went to the option menu just to see like, oh, is there like a always music or whatever?
Yeah.
But there wasn't.
It did let it down. It's a shame because, as we've said, the sound design in general for a game of that era was really good. There were some weird glitches with the audio. I don't know if that was part of the PlayStation 4 port issues.
What, the Michael Jackson glass break?
The Michael Jackson lift. Every
Yes.
time a lift hit the top, glass would break, and I wasn't sure.
It sounded like a sample from the Unbreakable album from Michael Jackson back in the 90s. I'm pretty sure it was nice.
But the sound effects in general, again, for a game of 1993...
That was great.
Really good.
Yeah,
really impressed.
And again, that when you pick up an object on the floor, you get like, I don't know, a 5-second cutscene cinematic, and you've got some awesome music in there. It's like the same sort of like, I can't remember if it was like horns or something that plays.
Yeah.
And it was just cool. It was like, I want to pick up more stuff. You know,
pick some up all the time.
yeah, exactly. Can I just drop this and re-pick it up? But sadly, when you do that, it doesn't replay the scene. But,
No,
but it was great.
Yeah, it was a deeply playable game. We could actually, I'm surprised how short it was. We played for about 2 hours, I imagine.
I think it was just over, actually.
Yeah. Okay. And we got
2:15
to the start of level 4, Earth, which I know from my memories is 4 of 7.
Yeah.
So there was we were actually halfway through the game at that point.
Yeah, just over. Nice.
Possibly 5-6 hours of gameplay. I remember the last level was quite short.
And we were kind of kick-ass in it, to be fair. I know I stumbled around at the beginning, but we were kind of pushing through pretty well.
Yeah, the the Running Man level.
Yes.
It's funny because you said at the start, this is a bit like Running Man.
Yeah.
I was like, there's actually a level that is Running Man.
Yeah.
Called Death Tower.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's a TV show in which you have to kill all the other contestants in a battle royale kind of style.
Yeah.
That's one of the levels. And when I originally played that level I was stuck on for days.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And we literally blipped through it in maybe 20 minutes tops.
Yeah, bossed it. Yeah.
Literally bossed it. But the rewinds definitely helped with that.
Oh, yeah. The rewind is a big thing. And the other thing, like I was saying with the environments changing, is the same with the enemies.
Yeah.
Even though the Neanderthals are pretty much the only enemies you see at the very beginning,
yes,
later on you do get that sort of cyberpunk-esque because you've got the Neanderthals or the mutants. Then you end up having like turrets.
Yeah.
So like actual like machine guns stuck to walls or whatever. You got mines.
Yeah.
You got like floating jetpack dudes.
Yeah, the police.
Yeah, the police. You've got these dudes that are like Sub-Zero that can like go icy and teleport fast.
And I'll say this, later on, there is even more enemies in
Really?
that are part of the environment. So there's a whole part of the storyline that we didn't touch upon where you discover that the aliens are in the population. We knew that much.
Yes, we saw that much.
But they're planning to destroy Earth. And you then go to the alien planet.
Oh, wow.
And have to fight these aliens. So then you've got alien robots, you've got aliens that can morph.
Yeah.
So like you say,
really well thought out.
Really thought out, constant progression and constant steps of difficulty as well. And a real sense of pace to it that's kind of unseen in particularly Sega games. And I know this was actually a multi-platform, but a lot of games that were released on the Mega Drive don't have that level of depth.
Yeah.
It just didn't.
Yeah.
It was a bit more on an arcadey console.
Yes. Yeah. I totally agree with you. And again, it was the era as well, really. It had to be quite a special, unique studio to pull out a game that was that big. Again, like we've seen with Metroid or something like that. Whereas other games of the era or other Nintendo games even weren't maybe as sort of like dark and gritty as that.
Yeah.
So for Flashback, again, I think it's done really well considering the day.
There is, for the diehard fans, obviously will know that it's like a 90s cult classic. There is a sequel on the PlayStation 1 called Fade to Black. Don't play it. It's trash if you haven't. It's like a 3D version. It's really horrible.
I think we'll have to get it now then.
There is the remaster or the remake of Flashback 1, which again is trash. But
again, we'll have to play it.
The original makers, so that I don't know if it's Delphine themselves or people from Delphine, are actually working on a game called Flashback 2.
Oh, right. Wow. So they're sort of ignoring everything else.
They've ignored the rest of the storyline and gone, let's go straight to Flashback 2 and let's make it like it should be.
Okay.
And I think that's slated for 2023, which is actually quite exciting to see that happening. For someone like me that's a big fan of the game.
Yeah,
franchise. So what's your thoughts in general then? Is it a must-play for the retro game fans or just a kind of a quaint one for people like me that love the nostalgia?
No, I'd say if you're a retro game fan in general and you've not played this, like me, do it. It's good fun. I mean, I definitely had the help of you giving me hints and tips and stuff, so I think I probably would have got a little bit more frustrated, at least at the beginning, if I just purely did it by myself, like going over certain traps and stuff like that, but having that rewind ability definitely helps.
Yeah, massive.
Don't just go on hardcore mode when you've never played the game. Yeah. Like, because you're going to suffer. But for someone that enjoys retro games, and especially a classic like this, for sure, I would say play it. If you're a modern gamer and you're, wanting to try retro games, I'd still probably say give this a go, but there probably is other ones that are a bit more forgiving.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is a Punisher.
Yeah, it is a Punisher, yeah.
Yeah, so, I guess that about sums up my trip down nostalgia lane. Thanks for joining us here. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe wherever you found this video. We are, of course, 128 KB.
We are.
And the best place to keep up to date with us is our website, and that's 128kb.co.uk. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.